Let's talk about size. How big of a league is too big? How small of a league is too small? In this video, we break down the pros and the cons of league sizes to be able to pinpoint whether or not the size of your league actually matters. The most common leagues you see are 6 teams, 8 teams, 10 teams, 12 teams, 14 teams, and 16 plus team leagues. Let's break down who these leagues are best for. Let's group the 6-team leagues and the 8-team leagues together. This is what I would categorize as beginner leagues. Then once you get some experience, you may move on to like a 10-team league. I would group the 12 and 14-team leagues together and say this is more of your general leagues that you see. And then lastly, you would have to say the 16 teams and plus, that's where I would put the more hardcore fantasy football owners. Now let's break down these 4 categories a little bit further. Let's start with the 6 or 8-team beginner leagues. This is where you see most home leagues where your family gets together and starts a non-serious league just for fun. I see a ton of people who it's their first time playing and they don't want to compete against too many other people so they have a chance to learn. Go with one of these types of leagues as well. I would also say that if you're unfamiliar with player names, this would be the type of league that you would want because most of the teams in the league are considered stacked where, there's going to be a ton of free agents available and everyone has a stud that they can plug into every position each week. Now that we covered the beginner leagues, let's move on to a 10-man league. These are the leagues that you should join when you want just to bite off a little bit more, just to see if you can keep up with the waivers and starting to make those start-sit decisions. I don't personally see too many people in these types of leagues, although there are quite a bit of them out there that do play in it. All right, half the pie chart is covered. Now we need to dive into my favorite type of leagues. That's with the 12 and the 14 team leagues. This is considered the default leagues, right? And it's the initial format you see when creating a new league. Any format is really good in these types of leagues, whether you're playing a dynasty league, a redraft league, a keeper league, or a best ball league. You usually see the fairest teams in these leagues because there's an appropriate waiver wire that you need to make decisions on each week. The start and sit decisions matter from week to week, and you have to really start planning for bye weeks if you want to see the most success. If you ask me, this is what I would shoot for in a league. Now we're moving on to the most hardcore type of league, and that's your 16 plus team leagues. You play in these type of leagues if you really want to challenge yourself. The most common you see is probably dynasty leagues where you try to build your team from the ground up and see half of the team is considered contending teams and the other half of the league is considered like rebuilding teams. There's a relatively absent waiver wire there as well. It's very, very barren as you really see these deep rosters, so it's a little bit more difficult to find and pluck these guys from week to week, so you have to build a whole roster through whether it's a rookie draft or something like that. As you can see, there are many different types of leagues you can join, but you have to make the decision for yourself about your skill level and also the amount of time you have to invest into a league. The last thing you want to do is know you have very little time to do research and set lineups, put in waiver claims, etc., and then join a 12-team league, right? It could ruin not only your experience, but the entire league's experience. I suggest just starting small where everyone has studs and less stressful overall and making those starting lineup decisions, and then start to work your way up the ladder until you eventually get to the 12 or 14 team leagues. And then maybe if you fancy that, put yourself through the gauntlet, go to a 16 plus dynasty league and really just kind of test your might at that point, right? And see if you have what it takes to be among the hardcore fantasy owners. But again, if you're asking me my opinion, I would much rather say, hey, look, just go with your 12 or 14 team dynasty keeper league, something like that. Or if you don't want a lot of the yearly off-season maintenance, just go with your 12 to 14 teams redraft league. So the question is on the table. Does the size of your league actually matter? Well, the answer is no. It's not about the size of your league. It's about how well you can work your league and your skill level. That's what ultimately matters. Now, guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. Now, I'm hoping it helped you to kind of pick which size league works best for you. Guys, we're pumping out videos each and every week to help you best dominate your leagues. We've got a lot of good intro one-on-one videos just like this on the horizon and on the channel. Be sure to check those out, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next video. We'll see you guys next time.